All right, it's 5:32 and I call this meeting to order. Let's stand for the pledge. There's a picture of a flag in there. We'll have a moment of silence for that. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everyone. So we have an agenda to approve. Everybody had an opportunity to look at it. I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
You have a second? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. Case of the agenda is approved.
All right, so every year we go over our IEC, which is our state alliance, basically. Government relations, obviously, there are a few PACs, one being federal, one being locally here. I'm sure Michael's going to hit up the importance of those. Just want to let everybody know, number one, there's a card sitting at your desk. So if you would like to donate, you can just send it in with this card. Please note that they have to be, Michael, is it the end of the December or mid-December? When's the last date to be able to donate to the PACs?
Well, the deadline that we have is December 1st.
Okay.
And so we were talking about this the other day in the meeting, and the reason for that is there's still a buffer of time before the end of the year. We have to have everything filed, submitted, and sent by December 31st. And so, you know, if something came in on December 4th, would we be able to accept that? The answer is absolutely yes. But we set that December 1st timeline because we do need a buffer of time to get all that stuff processed and things like that to get ready for 24.
Great. So anyway, I'm gonna introduce Michael. So Michael, you know my last name sometimes people can't say real well, and so I'm not going to butcher yours like they do mine. So I'll let you say your own last name and what your title is. But Michael is one of the government relation folks at IEC. Works really, really hard for us at the state and at the federal level. So can't speak highly enough about Michael. Anyways, Michael, I'll let you go ahead and kick it off, introduce yourself, maybe your title, and then I'll pull up your slides as we speak.
That sounds great. Thank you, Brett. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. I had actually considered sending you an email that phonetically was it, so you'd be able to say my last name, because I've had others that did try to butcher it. And so I know that you can relate. But yeah, my name is Michael Charbonneau. I am the Director of External Government Relations here at IEC. You may know Allie Jones. I think she has presented to you all before, and she is my counterpart. And I do want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak with you. As Brett mentioned, of course, we value our department and know the value of it, but want you to understand what it is that we're doing for you and the importance of both the issues that we're working on, the PAC, grassroots, and things like that. Just give you a quick 30-second background on myself, because I don't believe I've presented to you all before, and I've had the opportunity to meet a couple of you, but not all of you. I'm from Indiana. I live on a farm. I don't have broadband at my farm. I don't have access to it, so I'm passionate about that issue. I have two kids, 5 and 4, a wonderful wife, and I've been here at IEC since January of 21, and before that, I served 10 years at NIPSCO, a corporate utility, and I worked at an energy management company before that. So I've been in the industry since 2004 in some way or capacity. But this is my passion. I live and breathe politics and utilities, and interpersonal relationships are very important to me. And Brett, I appreciate the kind words that you said to me, and it's an honor to serve you all in this capacity. So we can go ahead and start there. The first thing we have here with that CPCN exemption, and before I get into the details of that, some of you may have known, I know Brett, you heard plenty about this, and I'm sure some on the board did as well. For the past several years, the Indiana General Assembly formed a committee called or a task force, which we just referred to as task force, but it was officially titled the 21st Century Energy Development Task Force. So you can see why we just whittled it down to task force there. But what they did, this was chaired by both Chairman Ed Soliday, who is the chairman of the House Utilities Committee, and Chairman Eric Cook, who is chairman of the Senate Utilities Committee. And then there were various members that either served on those committees, and the governor also appointed a few individuals to that committee as well. And they studied things like generation capacity, reliability, environmental sustainability, things like that. And then in this past year, there were a lot of generation capacity things that were, those were the bulk of the bills that we worked on. And we were pretty much told no broadband, no anything else by the chairman. And those 5 pillars that I just mentioned with the generation capacity, affordability, things like that, are now codified in state law that say this is the official energy policy of the state of Indiana. It's pretty broad, it's pretty general, but essentially all of the bills that are going to be passed in the utility space essentially are using those 5 pillars as checkpoints to make sure that they take these things into account before pursuing legislation and passing them in the General Assembly. We had a long session this past year where the budget was passed, the state budget. Every 2 years, the state passes a budget, and it's a long session that has to be wrapped up by the end of April. And this year is what's called a short session that has to be done by the middle of March. And those are things that are according to the state constitution. And there is no budget that is dealt with this year, but there are still a lot of things that happen in a very short and condensed session of the General Assembly. So the first point here is the CPCN exemption. And in a world that is littered with acronyms, for those who aren't familiar, CPCN stands for Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity. And that is anytime a company or an organization wants to build a generation facility or battery storage, things like that. But typically this is for generation facilities. They have to file this certificate or the CPCN with the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. And then they look through all of the financials of it, the reasons for it, the capacity, who's being served, things like that, and then they approve it. As you know, we're not regulated by the IURC, but we do have to file CPCNs for generation and capacity units. What we found coming out of that task force that I was just talking about and looking through state code is that the municipal electrics currently in state law have an exemption for anything under 10 megawatts. So let's say the city of Mishawaka, for example, wants to put in a solar field that is 8 megawatts of generation capacity or something like that. I'm just throwing out a municipal and a number, or a coal plant or anything like that. They would not have to even file that CPCN with the regulatory commission because they have this exemption in state code. And so we, a lot of these things operate in, we're usually on the same page went through session with the municipals, and we talked to both the chairman of the Senate and House Utilities Committee with the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, and they were all amenable to us pursuing the same exemption for our membership. And so that is something that we do expect to get through this session. We just got language back from the chairman on this. And we expect that this is going to be one of the things that we're able to get done this session. So again, this is for anything less than 10 megawatts. They do, the IURC still does need notification that these projects will be done, but they don't have to approve the project if we're able to get this done. So there is an exemption for small projects less than 10 megawatts. And then on to the broadband, this has been kind of dubbed both internally and externally as the year of broadband. I kind of mentioned a couple minutes ago that the chairman told us last year, no broadband bills, nothing that can be perceived in that space. And we honored that request and didn't want to upset them. There were a couple of companies that did try to, I don't know if I should say it this way, but kind of weasel something in during conference committee at the end of session, and they kind of got their hands slapped for that. And so we were patient and waited. And part of the reason for that is the generation and capacity stuff was important to get done this past session. And $850 million in BEAD funding is coming to Indiana from the federal government. And so of that 850 million, now the state has to decide how exactly that is allocated and who is going to have access to that money. Hopefully you've gotten some correspondence from Allie Jones on that. She kind of leads our broadband initiatives. But the numbers that we have gotten, well, first of all, I'd like to say that first part on the take rates. The cable association and maybe some of their individual members had planted the seed in the mind of Chairman Ed Soliday that rural take rates for broadband were under 20%. And he made that comment publicly in a broadband meeting with several providers and lobbyists and other organizations. And we knew that that was not true. But we needed that data to provide to him so that we could counter that before we got into the session. And so the survey results that we just recently got back was more in the between 40% and up to 70% and higher. So we do now have that data, and it's a frustrating thing when people can pretend like they know what they're talking about or speak so that they can get their hands on those resources. But we have actively engaged in getting that data so that we can present it, and those numbers are much higher than what they were trying to sell. So and then on to the BEAD funding, as I mentioned, $850 million give or take allocated here in Indiana. And while we certainly want to be able to create a playing field where the cooperatives have access to those funds, we also want to make sure that the 750 million plus of the 38 distribution co-ops members money that has gone into providing broadband in Indiana is not then overbuilt with federal or public grant money. So that is part of that, why they wanted to put that take rate number as low, is that they're not even taking this stuff, so we can take this into the higher densely populated areas, and so the companies like Comcast and Charter can get a bigger chunk of that pie. So we are prepared for that, and we're continuing to prepare with every conversation that we have with legislators and with allies as we go into this. And then finally, on number 3, you may recall a couple of years ago there was language in a bill that affected pole attachment contracts for cable operators, and the cable operators are the Comcast, the Spectrum Charter, and some of those bigger for-profit companies. And we have gotten some feedback that the NTIA money, which administers the BEAD funding, does not allow that to be allocated for make-ready costs. But we're not going to rely on just on that. We want to make sure that if either way, that they aren't trying to get something into legislation that would put the onus for make-ready costs or that burden on the co-ops or on the pole owner or electric service provider. And similarly on pole attachment fees, we're on top of this. And now this year we have a lot of data of some of the bad actors in that space, so that we can counter those arguments. And that's something I would ask you all. I do this. I travel around the state, and anytime I see a low hanging cable line or some of the more ridiculous ones where a tree is actually growing over a cable. And then the CEO of Hendricks County just sent me one a month or so ago that had a guy wire that had been attached to a fire hydrant. So if you see anything like that as you're driving around, and you're able to snap a photo of that or even just give us the information on it, that just helps the library that we have and helps us build a case to make sure that they stay in their place and that we're protecting your assets. And we can go on to the next one now, Brett. And of course, we encourage all of our members and their board directors and their employees, excuse me, to participate in the process of working with our state and federal governments. And the first one on the side there on the left is our grassroots program. And if you would scan that QR code, we're trying to get all the way down to member consumers to be part of the grassroots program and become advocates that can help, because of course, we are the front line of that at the State House and at fundraisers and in meetings with our elected officials and things like that. However, when legislators hear from their constituents, it holds even more water than when someone like myself or Allie or another person who is employed to have that perspective. But when they get a bunch of emails or phone calls or letters or things like that from constituents, that has serious weight behind it, and they take that seriously. And so what this is asking for is just a name, your name, I believe your zip code, and an email address. And so the reason for that and how that helps is, let's say there is a particular legislator or a chairman or someone that we need to make sure is getting the message that, hey, your constituents actually care about this issue, and here's why. And then we can identify that in that zip code. Okay, this zip code is name a legislator, and we know that we have this group of grassroots advocates that are willing to send an email. And those are the kind of things that we here at IEC, are willing to help with, and even drafting draft letters and emails and things like that. So it's not a heavy lift, but it is important that we continue to build the number of advocates that we have, and that we are taking that step ourselves, so that when we go to member consumers and asking them to do that as well, we've already taken those steps ourselves. So if you're willing to do that, we're asking all board directors and CEOs to take that step. So like I said, you can scan that and it will take you straight to the site, or if you don't have that functionality on a phone, you can go to action.indianaec.org, action.indianaec.org. And again, it's just 2 or 3 cells of information that is asked to be input there. And of course, as Brett mentioned, and the cards that you have there is your willingness to contribute to our political action committees. As Brett said, we have 2 here. We have a federal and a state, and which not every organization does, and not every statewide association does in the United States either. So we're a little unique in that way. But I'll just pause right there and say, when it comes to strictly financial resources, we can't compete with a Comcast. They have, multi-billion-dollar global corporation that owns Universal and NBC and all these things. However, we do have a robust PAC, and I manage the state PAC, and we do have a committee of CEOs and board directors that approves that budget. We do that every year after the session ends, so that we have a feel for how those relationships are working. Are these individuals still willing to at least listen to what we have to say and giving us a fair shake, or are they just bought and paid for by someone else? And that affects whether or not we're willing to contribute to those individuals. But we do need to support good candidates and elected officials that are, we hope they're going to take our side, but that doesn't happen all the time. But if they're at least giving us a fair shake and giving us the opportunity to present our side, and they're listening to us with an open mind, then we want to be able to support good candidates like that. What the relationship is like locally at the distribution cooperative and here at IEC as well. So while we can't match a company like Comcast strictly on the dollars, we absolutely can and miles ahead of them when it comes to local support, and that's where the grassroots stuff comes in. That is where one of our greatest strengths is, the grassroots. And then here with the PAC, you'll see the PAC rebrand. I don't know if you all remember the federal PAC, and this was through NRECA and our affiliate PAC here in Indiana, but it was called ACRE. That was the acronym. And when NRECA did a kind of a survey and polling of candidates and elected officials, they asked, what does the ACRE brand mean to you? Where do you make that connection? And as you may guess, it was not electric cooperatives. It was their mind. By far and away, the largest number of those that were surveyed connected that with the farming industry. And so I can show up to a fundraiser and take a nice check that you all have, and all of our membership has contributed to that dollar amount, and we can show up and have a great relationship with them. And then after that event, when they go to deposit that check and they see ACRE and their mind goes to the farming community, that is an opportunity missed. And so NRECA has rebranded, and we have done that here in Indiana as well. And so on the federal side, it is now the Indiana Electric Cooperatives Federal PAC. And on the state side, that is the Indiana Electric Cooperatives State PAC. Not going to be a missed opportunity there, because that is directly connecting us with those contributions and that relationship. And the last thing that I had to share with you all before I take any questions you may have is I think you all know we have I guess I can probably stop calling him a new CEO. John Cassidy has been with us and leading the organization since the middle of March. As you know, he came from Wabash and was also part of the Ohio statewide before that. And we also have a new vice president of government relations, which we are very excited about. His name is Ryan Heater. If you haven't had the chance to meet him yet, you hopefully will here in short order. Ryan comes to us. He was the former chief of staff at the Regulatory Commission, and before that served in state government in the capacities of working for the lieutenant governor's office, and was also a legislative assistant before that. So he has a wealth of experience on the policy side, and we are getting him around to various events and fundraisers and board meetings and things like that. And in fact, before I closed the door here a little bit ago, he said, "Hey, how do I get on this circuit? Because I want to get around to meet some of our boards and members and things like that." So you'll hear a lot more from him in the coming months and years, and we are excited to have him on board. And we expect a lot of great things from our department, and we're going to be able to serve you well in that capacity. So I appreciate you listening to what I have to say, and now I'd welcome any questions or thoughts or comments that you all have as well.
Anyone have any questions for Michael?
Michael, in our area, from a utility committee standpoint, it's Gene, right?
Lysing.
Yeah. So
Yes.
Gene is one that falls kind of in our district. And then I think Randy's not on anything anymore, right? Or
Andy,
Bry.
no, in fact, he just, he in the summer, actually stepped down from his post. So he's not even in the General Assembly any longer, which was kind of a surprise to me and to a lot of others. But yeah, he actually retired. I want to say the beginning of August or end of July, something like that. And he was on the Utilities Committee up until he stepped down. So he was, but he's no longer part of the General Assembly.
Well,
And
Mike,
Gene-
thanks. Keep
Sure.
the fight. If these guys have any questions, I will forward them over to you and we'll go from there. I do know John Cassie's going to come down here.
Oh, great.
I think we're going to try at the beginning of the year. And so anyways, thank you
Wonderful.
so much.
Hey, my pleasure. You all have a great evening. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mike.
See ya.
Bye now.
So you guys can send these on your own, or if they wanted to drop them off, you could get them sent.
If
for
you
us.
drop it off, we can send it. It's not that big a deal.
Where there's different colors.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, next item on the agenda, safety minute, full moment, Brett.
So safety minute, we're going to go over a qualified designated observer. And so one of the most popular things that I hear from members is, you know, you got one guy working or two guys working and one guy watching. There's been a lot of attention around this as far as how important it is in our industry. And it really has to do with the fact that they're doing some repetitive stuff, right? And they need somebody to step away that doesn't have a actual responsibility in front of his hands, right? And just watching and monitoring the work site. So OSHA calls it out. It's a pretty big deal. So I found a video through Federated that I wanted to show you.
Not witnessed by point, signing a designated observer at each work location will help decrease these incidents. A designated observer must be able to identify any exposed live parts and know the nominal voltages and minimal approach distances for any interactive work. Must also be familiar with special precautionary techniques and the personal protective shield materials and tools. The job is to be able to recognize the electrical hazards that you will be exposed to and the skills and techniques necessary to avoid them. When a critical task is present, the observer should be assigned. Critical task is one that requires working in an energized zone, such as setting up. As the designated observer, you're responsible for recognizing hazards and proper energized work procedures, and also keep a clear communication channel open so you can stop and redirect work. You should be able to give an advanced warning when a hazard is present. Set an emergency action plan if needed. The crew leader should ask the designated observer questions to verify their qualified. They must be able to identify voltages, energized components, minimum approach distances, and proper safe work practices throughout the task. If you're the designated observer, ensure proper tools and PPE are used, and the vehicle setup, grounding, and lockout tagout procedures go as outlined in the job. Throughout the task, watch your crew, make sure they stay in safe work positions, and follow proper energized methods. As you monitor the crew's work, also keep hazards such as traffic or inadequate use of insulating protection. Designated observer must leave his position at any point. Work should stop. Another crew member is assigned. Being an attentive designated observer is an important role that significantly reduces injuries from unrecognized hazards or changes in conditions. So take the position seriously. Get your full
Then the safety cool moment, the cool moment, we had our cooperative community day. So you can see we basically, I think there was 3 different locations we went to. So we didn't shut down the office. We actually had groups that went out 3 different time sections during the day. It was a Friday a couple weeks ago. So anyways, posted some pictures on Facebook, and would call it a very good success. It's a time where all co-ops are asked to kind of do it. And you know, we sign up with, I think it was the dog place. There was one of the trails over there, I think by the Oddfellows home. And then one other place that we went to. So it's a good day.
On the agenda for your information, are there any questions from all the information that's presented to us there? On American Express page.
Yeah, that's for my office furniture. Yeah, so we had a, gosh, this stems back almost a year ago, so I'm gonna try to jog my memory here. So we had an issue where, and it was really a communication issue, and I think honestly, us, our contractor were sort of both shared in this, but we basically cut some trees that the member had not agreed to. And so we, you know, it's one of those deals where we go out there, we mark the trees, and then we have a discussion with them if they call us, interaction with them. And so this was an instance where somehow the communication channel between us, the contractor, and the member didn't go so well. And so we ended up cutting down some pretty large trees that they had not agreed to. So it was one of those deals where we were trying to figure out a solution to essentially, you know, work it out with the member. And so we split a bill to replace some of those. So our contractor took half and we took half, and that was our half. And those happen occasionally. You know, if we're at fault, we usually will come to some type of an agreement. Doesn't happen very often. I think it's happened twice since I've been here, where somehow or another, you know, we've either torn something up or cut down trees that we weren't supposed to cut down. So, no. Mhm. Yep. And our contractor acknowledged that that was their, you know, so they kicked in half is essentially where we ended. And we budget for this because sometimes we have to send Schaumburg out if we tear up a yard. There is contractual stuff, and we'll usually go back. You know, if it's something that they cause, there's contractual, and we've been very successful being paid for those types of things. But then there's sometimes where, just like this one, where we were kind of part of the problem. So good question though. It is. So what we ended up doing when our new staker came on, we knew we were going to need some office furniture for him. So we basically bought new furniture, and some of that, some of the furniture that we replaced stayed in the building for the new person. So. But yeah, it is in the budget.
I brought that to his attention today.
That's somebody joking around. I didn't catch it. Apparently he was not here because he was sick. And Somebody wrote, oh, yeah.
Maybe that's what they.
It's funny, but it's not, right? I mean, that is, when those guys,
Some people wouldn't find it.
yeah, when we sign off on those sheets, yeah. I could expand more later if you'd like me to. No, he pointed it out before the meeting, so. One other thing, Clay, on the action item for the bill stuffer or the marketing around gathering the emails, just to give you an update on it. January, I think it's 15th, it's that week. We are going to be launching a new smart hub. And so it requires everyone that's, logged in through their browser. So in other words, they don't have, usually if you log into Smart Hub, either through your browser or through your phone, you don't have to log back in because your browser memorizes it, right? They're going to have to go back in and log in because it's brand new Smart Hub. And so at that point, we got to do a bunch of marketing anyway. So we're going to highlight and make a big deal about that. If you'd like to hear from us, our communication channels, one of the communication channels is email. And if you sign up, even if you don't use Smart Hub, if you sign up through Smart Hub, we'll have your email and you'll be included on all that. So the idea is that we were going to tag it with this new launch because we're going to have to, make sure folks know that you're going to have to log back in. They'll know because it won't automatically log in. Yeah, probably bill stuffer would be the most likely. Yep. Yep. I didn't want you to think we were sitting on it. We're just going to tag team it with something else.
Looks like we made 3 different payments to Hoosier.
Yep.
Throughout the month. If I add those 3 payments together and I go to the income, purchase power, it's not that.
Early payments.
Plus, it gets, we pay last month.
Okay, that's.
Yeah. True.
So this is September, okay, I'm in arrears. Gotcha.
But we do pay, we'll pay.
Every time we got money in our account, when we can prepay Hoosier, we pay them. We try to drain ourselves to zero because Hoosier's given us, I think, over 6% right now on our money. So, I mean,
But like one
there's no
week,
point in us keeping cash when we can pay them and earn a discount.
one week she may go ahead and pay 10 grand. The next week,
They'll never.
I'm just making numbers up. You get what I'm saying though. So it'll be a different amount that you see on there. Sometimes we don't, sometimes we do. These would be payments from, yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to check. I don't know how that works. Do you?
If the payments we make in September should be for August. That's what I'm. Because we get the bill usually around the 5th of every month, and it's due the end of the month, and we try to pay it as soon as we get money in from our members. We try to send it straight to Hoosier because except we get a discount the faster we pay. So at the end of the month, you see us at our highest dollar usually because we keep it at zero most of the month.
Any other questions? Brett or Matt? Everybody good? All right, we'll go into the next item then, the approval of the previous minutes. So you'll see there's one for the open board session and the executive session. We can combine them in one motion, but certainly.
Real concern that I have, or I need some clarification on, I guess, is policy and bylaw review and report. So the paragraph says that after discussion, made a vote to approve the red line changes to bylaws. Then had a roll call vote, et cetera. Then the next paragraph says that the red line changes to policy 3-3 statement of functions nominated. So the previous paragraph, like I was here and I feel like that needs to be spelled out a little bit exactly what we did. At least the section heading as we did in the policy, because somebody might want to know that.
So,
The bylaw.
yeah, so here's, Brian, I was going to say something to you about this. Our consistent in the past, what we've been doing is we kind of give a little bit of a blurb as far as here's what the change is, right? Brian did the minutes and he didn't put that blurb in there. I don't try to make very many changes. So, I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent, or
Two reasons bring this up. Well, three. Right, and people have red line changes.
it's a good point.
Sometimes they're
Exactly. Yeah.
they concerning that people might be interested in that. I think description of the
I was going to try, but it's in policy text, so it's going to take me a minute.
So everybody else,
I have one other comment.
okay, well,
It could be as simple as just doing what we did in the second paragraph. Policy 3-3 statement of functions. Whatever the title of that bylaw is that changed.
oh, that's a good point, because we wouldn't have to spell it out as specifically. And that information, if I'm not mistaken, the bylaws are on the website, correct? All the bylaws. So if we just,
They are. And the other, I guess, argument of why I didn't say anything, to Brian, and all that is, I mean, if they're interested, they can get on and watch the video too. So do we want to put that section? Yeah. So let's go to that one. Trying to think of the file all that was. So like bylaws section 3.07 credentials and nope, that's credentials and election committee. Hold on, sorry.
3.03 statement of. That's the policy.
Yeah, section 306 nominating committee duties. Is that what you? Section 3.06.
Everyone good with that?
I know y'all love my spelling. This is September
Yes.
minutes.
It's,
Brett, somebody caught it before I printed it. All right, where was Dale's?
I haven't spoken yet. Let's, go ahead. Okay.
Yes, somebody approved it and made the change already. So then the other one was right.
Yeah. Go back to the meeting.
How's that look?
Does that satisfy your concern? Okay.
Oh, yeah. So this one, I actually changed Brian because he had the amount, the number of megawatts in there, and I didn't think that was probably appropriate to put in there. That's why I took it out.
I got to put my measures.
Oh.
Yeah. I took it out of there when I did. I got rid of the and. Yep.
Is that on? Oh,
That's what we talked about.
well, it's got, so you're saying something should be changed there?
He wants to make sure that it's clear that the business meeting is at the fairgrounds.
Look up here.
Yes,
Yeah, he wants to.
No, it is.
but the change also being held at the event. Yeah, it was just changed. Well, it was just as you were talking.
Yeah, something else, Dale? Okay.
Anything else from that or the executive board minutes? But they can be generalized.
So I guess my question is, why do we have? I'll note that it did not vote, it says consensus, which probably. correct.
And you remember, right, and I had said something to that event or effect, and I think that takes the place of us having to do that.
If you make, my opinion is if you're not even a vote, if the consensus, or if you're making a decision as a board that is allowed to stay out of public notes, then this is exactly what you should do. Come out. And, yeah. And we consulted with Aaron as well.
Right, yeah, legal consultation on it. I think we're fine with this. And to answer your question, I don't know that we're gonna do this each and every time. I guess when it's pertinent, I'll leave it at that.
I mean, the best way is to actually do a vote and do it, go back into general session.
Oh, yeah. All right, so we'll need a motion to approve those. First,
Already approved it in policy tech.
Well, he did like 30.
okay, fine. All in favor, say aye. How does it say? Good. All right. Next item, CEO update, Brett.
All right, so a few things. So first, I'm just going to give you a few updates on projects that are going on. So for the IT project, we did complete. So part of that project was to compile a policy and an SOP around how we are doing cybersecurity training. So that is one of the policies you'll be looking at tonight. 12.1 was completed. And then also we have an SOP that we created, which really talks about how we actually implement that, what it looks like, how often we do it, things like that. And then we are working on a code of conduct change. So the code of conduct gives the policy some teeth as far as what happens if you click on a phishing attempt and you continue to do it. It starts with you get some extra training, and then so far out you get some extra training again, and then it starts to get into the progressive discipline. So because of that, we are doing a change to the code of conduct. So that's the IT project. The next one's broadband feasibility, which we'll be talking about later. Capital credit retirement change. So I actually saw the first draft of what the policy looks like. So essentially what we're doing is we're taking the capital credit policy and adding in that there from the guidance that we got from you last month. So that policy will come to you next month for changes. And I think what we all heard is that policy change will be approved next month with an implementation date of January 1st is kind of how we were thinking that was going to work. So you'll see that next month. Next thing is union contract, and we'll go over that in executive session. Any other questions as far as projects on the project list? If not, I'm going to keep moving on. Company metrics, September, basically the median temperature was flat with our 5-year average. Which you can see the CCD ended up being just shy of our 5-year average, so makes sense. Purchase energy was about 3.5% below our 5-year average. And then demand was about 2.3% lower than our 5-point averages. So nothing alarming. Overall, our energy sales is about 2.63 year to date under. This is our KWH by residential, commercial, industry, and transmission. Pretty much the same story across the board as far as what we've seen kind of all year. Yeah. And then again, you can see here the big difference. We went from minus 2.85 to minus 0.63, which is relatively flat and really nothing new. As far as our outages, we had no major storms in September. Our lost consumer hours was 137 compared to our 5-year average of 2,200. And then number of outages was 30 compared to our 5-year average of 47. If you look at the outage types, the top outage types by lost consumer of ours was trees not in the right of way and small birds and animals, which those are all very low still. Any questions from a metric or project update? Matt?
Okay, so this month, they're lower energy costs and sales. When we go off peak. Not as expensive. Next, to our statement of operations. Key takeaways here is we are. The biggest thing I would look at is total margins are still healthy. We're gonna be in our budget for the year. You know that's not gonna change, but our operating margins are healthy. We have the money to be able to, we would have to borrow a lot more money had we not ran margins like we have. Controllable expenses are still under. They're gonna stay under for the year. Revenue and power costs are gonna be over for the year. Operating is pretty close to where it's budgeted. Expenses are a little over. I don't know. Any questions on this anywhere? One thing, operations and maintenance, they're gonna wind up under here too. I guess I should point this out because our guys are gonna fly off over. We don't think those numbers are constant or if they want to grow as we. Maintenance expense will come back up some because we had the pause on the right of way where we were going through that, so that'll pop back up. Operations and maintenance will be under some just because the pole replacements, the guy's time gets capitalized versus expense. So when you have, they've done a lot of pole replacements, you have a lot more capitalized time. Admin in general will be under. Billing and member services is going to stay over. The editors are.
To answer your question, there are a few things coming through. Correct.
The under will get smaller, but it will end the year under.
We've got a couple things like our OCRs change outs. That's a pretty big ticket item that is going to come through. Right away is going to come through.
Right away is the biggest number yet. It's going to shift.
We're actually, I mean, we were just talking about it today and actually we're in pretty good shape. We got a healthy margin. We'll end the year under in the controllables. Gross margins aren't surprising. Move.
Cash relatively stable. $1,000. Not much of anything in a month-to-month basis. Really all of it. Standpoint, we did, as you saw on the check register, we had a lot of stuff coming through on pole replacements as well as transformers. This plant jumped quite a bit there. That's what the bulk of it was. It's pole replacements and meters, or not meters, but transformers. The meters are very important.
Yeah, we've had a really large push in new services. I don't know why everybody's coming in at the last year, but if you go back and look at Pat's desk, yeah, I guess. If you go back and look at Pat's desk, we have had a huge amount of new services / service upgrades / member modifications come through in the last month or two. So that new services spot, that's gonna grow.
But it comes in August and September, it's so crap, I gotta get my concrete poured so I can get my place at the foundation. I get my foundation and get under roof so I can work on it during the winter. So I'm sure it's the same thing there. Any questions, anything that you would add, Brett?
No, I mean, I think everything from a financial standpoint, we're starting to feel a ton better about. I think we're going to be in a good spot with our tracker next year. I'm glad we made the call we did on the tracker. I think that's going to be, no, I think we're in a good spot all around, honestly.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're gonna go over the tractor farmers. I mean, we're way over already.
He's talking about the big numbers though, the total.
We're over less than surprised. The way some of that stuff gets categorized.
We're at that point in time in the year too, where we're, I don't want to say begging because Matt will hit me, but we want to make sure that the work that gets done in 2023 gets invoiced and paid in 2023.
We're gonna get into that situation.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
And if you wanted to send them this year, I did full blood.
We said we're gonna do that every quarter, so I did. Yeah.
All right, anything else for Matt? Thanks, Matt. Pardon me? Oh, you are, okay.
So Matt, just,
So we did receive the two of them.
A proposal late in the day, so if you haven't updated your iPads, Jordan, for the
Did you
meeting
update yours?
photos, probably will do that.
take a look at it because you'd want to be talking about proposal 1 and 2. Well, the new one we got in is proposal 1. That's the change. And I took the memo out.
In general, from an accounting standpoint, both companies are reputable. They both know what they're doing. Price is relatively close. And I talked, and we really have no personal preferences that we would like to use. You flip a coin, decide who you like. Either one, they're both monetarily, they're about the same. I mean, it's as broad as it is long. They'll both do a good job.
So company number 2 is important.
Yes,
You see on your side.
that's more of you guys' choice from our standpoint. From talking to Jenny and others, both these companies are going to do a good job. They're easy to work with.
Suzanne,
How many shoes in the same order would it be?
I believe it's going to be the same people we tell them.
Or just be my outlet?
Jenny knows both people who come. She's worked with them. I haven't worked with one, but in general, they're.
Exactly. Right.
if you look at what the company's done in the past 20 years, it's
So company 2 would be. Probably the started by IEC. Number 1.
Yeah.
He did. I think his presentation to the farmers. And provided us more questions we should ask that I would not have asked had I not had his presentation.
I agree.
And I, like I said, from a purely talent standpoint, it was I'm not gonna say. They're both gonna do a good job at personal preference. Or switch.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. And my understanding is that company one did 3 years prior to that, so.
At least the 3 years. I don't know, they may have had it a couple before then too. So you made a motion to accept which proposal? Number one? And we had a second? Any further discussion? I think it's very,
They both did.
very comparable and.
Prices
cost.
across 3 years has been,
Very-
I think, $250 so each year. I mean, which in the grand scheme of things is not really a whole lot.
Okay, so we have a motion for proposal one. All in favor say aye. Opposed, the same. Okay, so it's proposal one.
Want to take off? You're good. It's up to you.
Yeah.
All right, so I figure while we hit you with your donations for the year, I'm gonna bring it on, right? So United Fund, Decatur County REMC, and has even prior to me, really focusing on United Fund, and I'm gonna hopefully explain why. I am on the board there. We do put in the budget, it's been this way for a while, where we do match employee funds. So for every dollar we match, the company matches it. And so anyway, it is open for board members, whether you're from a personal standpoint or from a board. But I was going to show you the video, campaign video.
Achieving this mission is possible community members and the organizations we provide that any asset plan is committed to putting our local participated in the Decatur County United since plan started 15 years ago. Their support and making a difference in our neighbors. As a company, we believe in investing in local research. And with the Decatur human next generation and great positive change. It's critical to witness the impact of dedication, flexibility, to those in need.
Giving to my community has always been important to me. United Fund
Section mission to improve the lives of these organizations work tirelessly to start with let's expand our programs to reach more children. Now, it's your turn to be a part of the team. Together, create hope and stability. Your contribution, no matter the size, makes a significant impact. Join us on this incredible journey. We're Team United, and we're bringing hope to our community.
So anyways, my little spiel on this is, interesting fact I thought was 1 in 3 individuals were impacted in Decatur County. So it's not necessarily just the folks that you would think. You probably know somebody that's been impacted by it. 16 different organizations. I'm actually on the committee that goes through and figures out who gets what money, and it's all based on measurable outcomes. So it's not like we just, give money away. They actually have to provide outcomes to 3 areas: financial stability, education for children, health for all. The other thing I think is very unique is this is an opportunity where you can give a donation to your community, and it goes to several organizations, and it's all local money. So this isn't a bigger part of a network where your money goes outside. It's all locally. So anyways, if you would like to donate, the sheets are in front of you. You can just fill this out. If you want to submit it as a board member, again, the company will match those dollars. We do have dollars in the budget to do that, but I will need your form and donation by end of business tomorrow, because we're going to send this in Friday morning. Yeah, I know.
You didn't see the footnote of bringing your.
Well, I meant to send you all a text and say, bring your checkbooks, because there's 2. Correct. If you want to contribute outside. Correct. Good. All right, next thing on the agenda is the 2023 capital credit retirement timing. So I attached the Hoosier resolution and the RMC resolution that we did last year in the budget this year. I know we were going to wait until the end of the year. This is the yeah, this is the end of the year. So if we want to do it in this year, which I highly recommend, we got to get we need your okay to go ahead and do this, because it takes that much time to get NISC to do their thing, and then to get it all done for the bill in December. We need to do it tonight. We've already done a resolution, so I don't know that I really need a vote other than just you guys saying, yes, let's go ahead and do it. Last year. Yeah. So the resolution's already passed. It says you're going to do it. We already got the dollar amounts, the year's payout. This is really just, we kind of talked about, let's wait until the end of the year. So we're here. And we looked at, we had Jenny actually run all the cash, and we look like we'll be fine. We should get the Hoosier, which is around 346. We'll at least have it by December. So probably beginning of December. That's all done now. Yeah. Better. Yeah. I guess, does anyone have a problem going ahead and doing our?
I think that's the way to approach it. Yeah. Does anybody have an issue with going ahead, making sure this gets done by the end of the year? Are you good with that? Okay.
No. This is for 2023. So this was what they did last year. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That comes after that. Yes, we're good.
Okay.
2023.
This really shouldn't take that long. Honestly, I didn't get a chance to go through every one of these slides. I know where I'm at on it. They are doing and I'm just giving you a heads up in case you have questions. If you would want to do this, you could do it. I was planning on you would do it actually next month. So, in December, Accord is going to open up what they're calling a cash call per their bylaws. The idea is that you can up your equity in Accord. Essentially, you give them money, right? And you get a certain percentage of equity in the company. They're going to have that cash call in December. So I just wanted to make sure I got you guys some data on it. I don't know that I would really recommend it, but it's kind of up to you at this point. You don't need to make a decision. If someone would want to do this, we would need to bring it up and approve it next month. So that in December we can
Actually, I guess I could ask the board, would you like to hear from James?
Yeah, he would
Hannaford, kind of go through this? Or you don't want to pursue it as a board, that's our decision.
I should probably add, the reason they're doing a cash call is because they're, number one, they're going to hire a CEO to actually run the company now. James basically will tell you that, we've got the companies up and going. There needs to be another level of skill set and someone running the business. So they're going to hire a CEO, one. And then number two, to build out the network, to get it all connected, they got to have cash for that. So that's why they're doing the cash call.
You want to table it for a while? I see some heads nodding. Okay. Do we want to officially bring it up next month then, either way, or?
I would say if somebody thinks that it's something we should look at, to let Steve know, and we'll put it on the agenda. If not, we'll move on.
That's fine. Yeah, so anybody an interest, make sure I hear about it so we can include it for next month.
All right. So capital credits for our 2024 budget. So the log is the information, and then it has the capital credit retirement, what we've done in the past. The first one is the 2024 REMC. So essentially all we do for this, according to our financial management plan, is we take all unretired and you divide it by 30 and it gives you a number, right? So that number is 556,871. And then basically all we did is went and picked up the latest two, right? So we paid off all of 1995 and then 96. So that's how we came up with the REMC one. The Hoosier for 2024, all we did there is I put the wrong ones in here. I did. So interesting. They're exactly the same. I didn't.
Oh, you mean for, okay.
Those aren't the right numbers.
Well, familiar with the law. Right, the law is gonna be,
Yeah, I got them in here somewhere.
It really boils down to the
Okay, here it is up. So should I you guys want me to go ahead and get into call to order and just update it, or do you want me to show it on the board? Update it. All right, everybody update. Here's the REMC one. Didn't download, did it?
I tried to do it once. It's crashing, I think.
Is that what?
Honestly, it could be.
I think it's everybody at once. It's crashing. Everybody hit the button.
Get the button.
What did it say on your error?
Said there was an error, yeah.
Yeah, there was an error.
Looks like it's on up. Anybody updated?
All right, well, here's what it says right here. So the number is 573,933, and then we picked 95 and 96 because those are the two oldest years. Pretty much that straightforward.
What's it say? Operation couldn't complete 404.
Yeah, I have no idea.
That retires all of 95 then, is that correct? Correct.
Yep. And then Hoosier, so that's what we did for the RMC one. Again, it's just, and then this is the Hoosier one. So all we did there is we know we're going to be getting that 346, 512 because we're on the cycle, right? So we basically just picked the latest year. We just picked the oldest year for both of them essentially. And I talked to Jason about the Hoosier one, and there could be some special retirements and stuff like that towards the end of the year. And if so, what I would suggest is this is the pass through, just like we talked about in our financial plan. In other words, what we get in cash is what we retire. If we get a special one at some point in time, we'll just do another resolution and retire more if you want.
If the tractor is gonna my opinion. But it's only one guy. But it's also semi-permanent, special retirement, just.
And it's something we can always
We're doing this
retire.
coding thing. Just jump in. Patient, we know already, so we. Merge with.
Doesn't matter.
And we can always do retirement. February.
Oh, it's airing up here. It's getting hung up there, right? Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. Sometimes call to order does some really goofy things.
The years. You rather pull from, or you just want to pick the oldest?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to be approved tonight. I guess we could do it.
Yeah. 95.
Yes.
We have some years coming up.
We could do it in the budget,
Pretty healthy now.
but I mean, I think it's pretty clear cut how we do it, right?
They're healthy too, I mean, it's everybody.
Between, it's 4, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are all real.
You might be able to upload now. I don't think that's it. I don't think it should matter. I have no idea why it wouldn't the first. To me, if you get an additional from Hoosier, then we just do a new resolution and add it. You can always add it. Per the log. So where are you looking at? Yeah, because I don't remember why we did that. No, that can't be. That's what's left, I think. Matt, you looking at the log?
Yeah. That's something new, isn't it?
No, I believe that's what's left. And we did a retirement in 2023 is the way I'm reading it. Man, this,
Yeah.
I'm retired.
Hoosier always would win. Hoosier's nice to pull. Do what?
How can we get all those little ones?
No, I don't think.
yeah, that's odd. It's showing up in Hoosiers too. No.
2023.
You bringing up the spreadsheet or you want me to get in there?
It was 95, 96, but over the Canadian.
We haven't retired 23 though. What's it under GL? I got it. No, not necessarily. I mean, it's part of the budget, so. So I don't know how 23. It's the exact same on her sheet. In the main log, but that's not gonna affect these numbers. Cause essentially what we're doing is taking the total unretired and dividing it by 30. It won't affect it. This log doesn't matter as far as other than the unretired. Yeah.
Yeah, because it does.
So the 23, is this like gonna reflect?
It's really a budget item, so no.
Yeah, that doesn't have to be dealt with today.
That's where it used to be.
Yeah, I was just looking too. I didn't see it. Because I wondered what it showed. It probably wasn't. It probably wouldn't have included those values.
Lost, it's not.
I didn't-
The dashboard?
Yeah, we had capital credits out there at one time.
We've been trying to clean this thing up. That's why it's doing all this funky crap. Yeah, I'm assuming that we took it off at some point in time for that.
Either way, those are the amounts. We don't have to make a decision on that tonight whatsoever. I mean, that's the dollar amounts when you divide it out by the years. It's more of a,
Yeah, I mean, the amount's gonna be the amount, but we don't need approval tonight.
no, we don't need any. More of a,
Designated.
Designating that you're hired by amount. Like was the 23s? So they put it up to the oldest one.
Her sheet right here, this is, I mean, coming straight from that log, it's got the same thing. So I don't,
Something's gotta be here.
Maybe that's-
no, we didn't.
it is, and then half of the, yes, half the money has to go to the old.
There was only 2 years, I think, last year that we did for 2023. I wish Jenny was here because it's probably is. Yeah, yep. Yep. We gotta talk about the dashboard and the general request sections at some point. It's bogging down, so we're gonna have to take off something somewhere. Every time I try to take something off, somebody uses that, so I don't care what we take off. We do need to go through it because we're to the point now where we're gonna need to start getting rid of like old board meetings. And I know every time we take something off, it gets questioned. So I don't care what we keep on here. I don't know what you guys use every day, all the time. This probably is one that would be nice. 7 cooperative principles. I mean, you can Google that.
Or you have them credited to the right.
And I think you've got those on the website.
I agree, but this stuff's on there for a reason. Somebody asked for it.
Somebody requested it from some time ago and it's lingered, so we could, we're gonna do an event.
Yeah, like I said, it doesn't matter to me what's out here, but I do know that we are getting to the point where it's starting to really.
Lock things down.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we'll bring this back up in, I guess, November.
Actually, you should be able to go back to last year's too. So go back to, when did we would have done this in
It was
November.
November, but I don't know if you would have had capital credits listed on the code. You should have.
Yeah, it's on here, I'm sure. Yeah, it's right here. It's in November of 2022. See, there's 20, it's blank.
Yeah.
You have it, but
So everywhere where it says 2023. No, I know what it is now. Yeah. They shouldn't even show up. All those that are 2023 should be probably wild out. Look, go back and look at the 2021 or the last year's. November.
Item 9.
That's odd though.
But then your totals on the unretired amount accounts for that deduction. so-
Or it's whited out and that's part of that whole. No, what I'm saying is watch my screen. I think it's supposed to be like this. No, it won't. Watch.
This one from
It's gone.
2022 is not matching what we have. You look at even 1996, 97, ours showed 420,000. And the amounts have been.
Retired. Unless this goes back to when they, remember we had discussions years ago where they didn't all match up and we had to clear some of that all out. Remember we worked on that with, I would think, yeah.
I guess we do give.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, prefer not to put on, that's what I would like to see it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's odd. Yes, we'll get it cleaned up.
All right, so we'll go to the next item.
All right, next item is, so we did our, we do our risk reviews. I think this was on the last report you guys saw. Our servers are basically to the end of their life. And so we, as a mitigation, we were going to put them in 24, essentially. I asked Sam and to see, could we get, if we wanted to pull the trigger on these, could we get them this year? It reduces risk, reduces margin. And the answer is yes. So it just totally depends on how you guys want to handle it. We can either put it in, we have some spare parts for those servers, but in my opinion, it's like we got the cash to do it. That's one reason we were just going to put it in 2024. We got the cash to do it. We could get these things ordered. They're going to be in next year's budget. So my opinion is we go ahead and purchase them. They're past their useful life, essentially.
I think they can be in production by the end of the year.
Oh, yeah.
So
Has something occurred to level wise? Gonna be in the budget 24.
Just margins.
The ability to accelerate.
It's a risk that's out there and we could reduce the risk by,
I mean, you're not beginning to see signs of
no,
smoke and.
nope. Nope.
They're like your car has, from the way Sam said, it's like your car has 400,000 miles on it. Might as well just go ahead and get rid of it. Yeah, you're gonna buy it either way, so.
I mean, there is risk. You don't, typically these servers don't give you a whole lot of heads up when they just go plunk. Yep.
they're worth what?
Worthless.
Worth less. Yeah, they're worth nothing. That's the
2019.
long term.
Yes.
They're like the stuff in the server.
I can actually go show you them if you ask me.
No, I expected to join.
They're
4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
4 years.
5 years. Ever they're not just life cycles.
It changes to do with them. Were you making a motion? Were you making a motion?
You have the cash right now. This is, is it depreciated out or is this an expense item?
Well-
It'll be depreciated more than likely.
No. So I talked to Jenny about this. Yep, this one could be expensed out. If we want to declare it to go ahead and expense it out, we could. We checked because that was the whole reason I wanted to do it.
Expense out, then I will make the motion.
It can.
No.
Yes.
Because Adam, I think we depreciate out.
So you want to include in the motion that it's expensed out?
Because I questioned the exact same thing, because normally stuff like this is like, can you or can you not? She's like, well, you can't vehicles, but yeah, we can on this one. And Jenny has asked one of her peers. So
I don't know.
I wouldn't probably ask otherwise. Quicker.
Yeah. Vertically, I've never put that.
Make that part of your motion to go ahead and expense it out.
Make the motion to go ahead and buy servers. In addition, they are expensed out in the 20.
First and a second. All those in favor say aye. Others the same.
All right. You ready?
Um,
This first one is 4A. There is literally no material changes to this whatsoever. I'm going to hit them all up if you're okay. 12.1 is the brand new one. This is the one that has to do with cybersecurity and creating this. This isn't required by insurance companies, but it will be in the coming years. Again, we built this one based upon what we're doing from a phishing and training in cybersecurity. Appendix A. Appendix A is really just, so for Appendix A and rules and regs, actually for all these except for 12.1, these come up, we review them as a leadership team every so often, right? Every single policy. So these two, Appendix A and rules and regs, came up for us to review. So my team reviews them, and if we see something that's inconsistent with what we do today, we redline them and bring them to you all. That's the exact same thing. That's what's happening on Appendix A. We're not changing anything other than the fact that we left out the fact that there are 4 mechanisms, which one of them is distributed generation. So all we're doing there is adding what we're doing today. And then rules and regs, Crystal caught these. All these changes have to do specifically with deposits. Everything that she's redlined and changed in here is to shore it up with what we do today. So if you know, we've made changes to the deposit process, I don't know, probably over the last 10 years or so. And these are making sure that what we actually do today is reflected in our rules and regs.
The policies we're catching up.
Yes. Which, again, I'm not sure that's the greatest way to do it, but we're catching a lot of these as we're starting to review them on a yearly basis. Yep. I feel really comfortable now that, we have this policy tech software, and it really does a good job of alerting us to make sure that I feel like a lot of the RMCs have this where, you don't ever look at policies unless you have an issue with it. Well, the whole point of policies is you should always be reviewing them. So this forces us to review them and then bring you guys changes. So yeah, that's true.
There's another thing on policy 4-8 2C, there's just a thing.
Yes. Yep.
It's not just, it's just
Yeah, I got it. Yep. No, because no, you do not have, the board doesn't have a code of conduct, so there is no teeth from you guys other than we will ask you, so I can't remember. I think it's like five times. If you fail 5 times, if you click on 5 fishing events, we're going to ask you to come in and sit down with Sam for like 15, 20 minutes. Yes. Now, when it gets to like literally 20 times after 3 or 4 events, then it goes to our code of conduct, which wouldn't apply to you guys. But for us, there is progressive, you will be rode up.
But for your question, Jason, it doesn't say board of directors. It says directors here and after staff. So I don't know, wasn't your question, does this apply to us? And I'm looking at it and saying, I don't think it does. However, I think you just said you'd like us to be involved in some of the training as well.
Yeah, we will, there is no teeth in it. In other words, if you fail, you can fail 500 times and unless the board decides that you want to put teeth in it somewhere, it doesn't matter. But we will ask you as a part of the training program, if you fail a bunch, to come in and do training. It's going to be totally up to you whether you do that or you say, no. He tells you, but he doesn't go through training.
No, that doesn't make me done.
Probably make a fish, and I say, this is a fish.
What the other day?
It's been a while. I took a picture of mine.
Steve got one, and I know because I
Well, it
asked.
pertained to this because I had read the board packet and I thought they're already sending something out that I needed to take the training. And
And he asked me, he's like, should I click on this? We're like,
Yeah.
you do what you want or what you think you should do. And it was a phishing attempt. So I mean, we're getting clever. You may get something that says, looks just like from me.
But that's why I didn't interpret this as the board, but when I see directors,
It says all employees, including third-party employees with Decatur County are using email addresses or domain login credentials, executives and directors.
but look how it
are
says, and
expected to
directors,
complete.
here and after staff. We're not part of the staff. I thought it was referring to directors of the. We can leave it as is.
I read it as a board.
You did?
Yeah.
Here and after, they're just gonna say, call everybody staff. They just listed before that.
Okay, well, I'd rather them put board of directors on there just for clarification.
We could do that. That's not a big
I
deal.
mean, because I interpreted it slightly different and maybe Jason had a question too.
I think what they're saying in A, they're using staff to include you. So anything past A that says staff includes the board. That's what that's trying to do.
Okay, well,
It's legal jargon again.
yeah, whether you change it to board of directors, you just direct, no problem with it. But it does include it.
You mean just right here, put and board of directors hereafter staff.
Yeah, and maybe in part B, under the objectives, executives and board of directors.
Yeah, so everywhere it says directors, put board of directors.
Yeah, and if somebody else.
We can do that.
Issue either way.
No, that's easy.
You guys okay with that? Changing that to board of directors. Okay.
Would be board of directors.
I'll go back and look at the legal terminology in our bylaws of what they call you or define you. Because I honestly don't know. But I know that it's in our bylaws somewhere. I would just, we'll put board of directors. We'll clarify directors and whatever terminology is in
I'm gonna go with that. We'll need a motion to approve all the changes for the policies and, the rules and regs and the appendix. Okay. Well, first and second, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. All right, we're good there then. All right, affiliated organizations, Jason. All right.
We can have meetings.
That joke is funny every month, Jason.
I usually get the one that does it.
Otherwise, I'm waiting for homecoming. And then extra 25 seconds. Unprepared. Tomorrow. On a committee. November, so. I mean, that all those boxes get checked, we will see that money. We're also gonna create design tomorrow and officers. So our rates are. Well, I mean, the tracker. Oh, yeah. There may need to be the. Let's say that. That's a long problem. Schedule. Have lost one solar PV project. Last winter, we received $7 million. We have another big solar project that prices have doubled.
Cheaper to pay millions of dollars to go away.
Which not great traffic because solar is on shaky ground. On press locally about projects. While people are still trying projects needed. Or if they do actually end up being built. Because of materials. That's just my opinion. That's the way. Oh, and they would be partners to me. Billion.
Happy with that, right? All right, from IC, I think I mentioned at the end of last month's meeting that there was going to be a groundbreaking ceremony, and that did occur at the end of September for construction at the Purchase building. So there's going to be some modifications that are taking place. All permits have been approved, so they've started. 2024 budget, we had a meeting a week ago. The 2024 budget was approved. Under careers, cultures, and development, and I know I probably mentioned this before. So at the IC meeting on Sunday, prior to the Monday and Tuesday's meeting days, there's going to be one BLC course and one CCD course that's being offered. After those are completed, there's going to be what's called a director's chat. So for any directors that are there, they can go to this meeting just to where directors, it can include, from any of the 38 members in the state of Indiana can participate. So if you're up there on Sunday, if you're planning on going, certainly encourage you to go. Maybe go ahead and go to this chat session. One thing I don't think I mentioned last month, although I didn't maybe brought it up, that the director's retreat that Steve and I went to this last July at French Lick is going to be held again next July, but on a Friday, Saturday, at French Lick. And the one thing that I remembered, I know when Jenny gave us the budget, sheet, that was not on there. Again, I'd like everyone to consider maybe attending. And if you think you might be going, you might want to get a hold of Jenny and say, hey, add the cost of what the retreat would include for budget purposes. Other than that, I think that's about all that I have. There were pictures that were taken. I haven't seen any of them. Have they been posted? Have they been posted? I don't know. All right. Anybody take any training or attend any conferences then? Is that the one? Is that up at? Okay, good. Got 1 or 2 weeks. Okay. By the way, and I think most people are aware, but IEC offers 2 years of training that you can get your BLC in a 2-year time frame. So I think they offer probably 5 different classes each year. So it's attainable. With that said, I think we're ready to adjourn. I thought we'd just talk about it a little bit later, if you're good with that. Motion to adjourn? We're adjourned. We want to second, you get something.